He's made it clear he couldn't manage Newcastle United under the current setup. He says he wouldn't feel comfortable working with a director of football who was picking and choosing the players for him. Shearer says the fans have a right to be angry about Kevin Keegan's departure, but he's not convinced by the idea of a boycott at the next home game.
He was adored by Newcastle fans as a player, but it appears Alan Shearer is not willing to risk his hero status at St James's Park by replacing Kevin Keegan as manager. Although one former boss believes Shearer is an ideal candidate.
I think he would be the excellent choice. I think he would be, because he has the charisma. He knows the club very well, and give him a chance. I think it would be an excellent choice.
Shearer admits he would like to manage one day, but has ruled himself out of a return to Tyneside for a second time. He told The Sun he could not work at a club where he was not the decision maker, a problem he believes led to Keegan's downfall.
I think it's just a question of making sure that the director of football, if there's one in place, and the manager are very clear on their roles. But at the end of the day, there isn't a successful manager that doesn't decide on who comes and who goes and who plays in his team.
Ian Pygel was playing, we are age 48, been a fan since 1969. I can remember my first match was a Fairs Cup run, Victoria set you about 5-1 win round about my 9th birthday. Well, I think last season was a major disappointment going back, which has been a continuation since 2004-05. I think Sir Bobby was sacked too early. I was hoping he would have stayed till the end of 05-06 and like sort of retired at the same time as Shearer, but in the past since then, Sooners and Roda just weren't up to it. I mean, it wasn't necessarily Roda's fault, and things have just got steadily worse. I mean, there was slight improvement under Keegan, but in my opinion it's just not good enough. We've gone back and we should have been going forward from 2003-04, and we've got steadily worse.
First thought was a waste of space, boring football. Couldn't believe some of his so-called tactics, Allardyce, they just didn't show. They could see the players wouldn't play for him. As we knew when Keegan took over, it wasn't going to happen overnight. But the end of the season, you begin to enjoy our football again, and I don't blame Ashley for getting rid of Allardyce, because as he turns on, he says, I wasn't enjoying it. I paid a lot of money. He said I wasn't enjoying it, so we'll see what, as per every season for the last God knows how many years, let's see what happens this season.
But any new manager at Newcastle faces a tough job to win over the fans, who are still coming to terms with Keegan's departure.
Not even Alan Shearer could do, come back and heal the wounds here. It's just disgrace.
We'll never ever accept the next manager, never. We want Kevin back, that's all we want.
I don't know what self-respecting manager would step into a situation like this.
And those feelings will not leave owner Mike Ashley rubbing his hands with joy, as fans continue plans to boycott next weekend's game against Hull in protest. Simon Vincent, Sky Sports.
I've never been a fan of his football, but I got suckered in by his patter. Thinking the scientific routes, I thought, oh well, let's go for it, you know. And he talked a good job. Unfortunately, he talked the talk, but he didn't walk the walk, you know.
Well, it wasn't necessarily his fault, all of it, but when he come, I thought, well, he did reasonably well with Bolton. You know, he could grind out results against Arsenal and Liverpool and teams like that. The bigger teams, he could always put a good show. But as the season went on, I realised with Bolton, under limited resources, he did well, but I don't think he was up to the job. Well, the club was too big for Allardyce. That's basically it. I mean, he's got to take some of the blame, but not all the blame.
Well, figuratively as well as literally, it never rains, but it pours here on Tyneside. Dismal scene around the club, a dismal feeling around the club as well. Some 36, nearly 48 hours now since Kevin Keegan officially announced his resignation for a second time as Newcastle United manager. There's still no end in sight to this saga, no suggestions of how the situation will be resolved, nor who will be his replacement.
Abdul Fair and Habib Bey, well, Bey especially was, you know, did really well. I thought full back and Fair centre half, steadied the defence. Enrique still, he wasn't bad, but he was inconsistent. And I mean, this season will be make or break for him at left back. And two youngsters, Thomas Kiddar and Ben Tozer, signed. I believe they were both signed by Keegan, and I think they're ones for the future, and I'll be looking forward to seeing them in maybe 2 years' time, trying to claim a regular place. But the big three, well, four, Jeremy didn't show any of his form he did with Chelsea or even Borough, come to that matter, and he was a disappointment, looked lost in a lot of games. Maduga, getting on, injury prone, should have done better. Alan Smith, poor, didn't get involved with the games enough. Major disappointment for the money that was paid. Joey Barton looked fine with Man City, but just didn't do it. He played a little bit better towards the end of the season, but again, major disappointment.
But we've been out and about in the town centre this morning. There have been a few hardy Newcastle United fans out there willing to speak to us as well. And they've made it clear there's only one man that they want to continue managing Newcastle.
Keegan.
Is he still the only one for Newcastle fans?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Keegan's the one for Newcastle, yeah.
Kevin Keegan hasn't fallen out of love with Newcastle. He's shown that over the last 2 times that he's been here. He wouldn't have came back. He left because of the board. If the board really loved Newcastle, they would have let Kevin Keegan do his job.
That's what the Newcastle fans want. It's what the city wants. It's the best thing for Newcastle United.
Is he the only man in your eyes to manage this club?
He's the only man in my mind to manage Newcastle.
I thought he could have been a good sign. There was a player played for Nottingham Forest years ago called Kenny Burns, and he was a thug, but Brian Clough turned him round, turned him into a very good player, and he got Footballer of the Year. So years before, you would never have thought it, and I thought, right, if Joey Barton knuckles down here, he'd be a good signing for it, but he's let himself down, he's let the fans down, he's let the club down, and frankly, I don't see any way how he
At
can
the
come back.
time, Barton, he did alright with Man City. He'd had a couple of good seasons. I know he was a bit of a wild boy, but we've had wild boys in the past, haven't we? And I'm all for giving anybody a second chance. But apart from what he's done, I don't think his form was up to it. You know what I mean? Peter he was poor in any case, and I mean, he was injured, and then the day he was meant to be injured against Wigan, he went out on an all-day bender, plus that's what got him into trouble. I mean, I dare say he's got hangers on and that, you know, like what Gaza does. But I mean, I would give him a second chance now to prove himself this season. But I mean, I was more annoyed at how bad he performed on the field to what he did off the field. That was the disappointing factor with me. I mean, he must do better this season. If not, I would sort of try and sell him off sort of next season. But I'll give him the rest. I'll give him one more season. But looks like it's just going to be half a season, isn't it? Because if he gets this ban, he'll be out till 1st of December time.